How's everybody doing tonight? My name is Mike D'Alessi. I'd like to welcome you here to my book signing for Washington's Child. I'd also like to thank the Agawam Public Library and Winnie back in Manama. I never know if I'm going to say that way, Winnie, I'm sorry, for giving local authors a venue to promote their book and to also promote people to read. So without further ado, we're going to start. This is the front cover of the book. We're going to go to the rear cover. Now you notice on this book there's no inside pictures, there's no inside story, which is probably not a great way to market it, but I wanted it to be mysterious. And I asked one simple question on the back of the book. Do you know what this means? Now everybody has, I'm going to pull it out of my pocket, a dollar, Great Seal of the United States. And I asked the simple question, do you know what this means? Join Detective Dayton McCormick on his investigation and find out for yourself. So how did I start writing this book? Well, a little bit about me first. I'm a resident of Agawam. My wife is Peggy. I have a son named Ricky and a daughter named Rachel. I got a BA in Mass Communications from Westfield State College. I'm Director of Media Services at Elms College. I'm a photographer and I have a lot of interests. Anything from gardening to cars, motorcycles, things like that. But that doesn't pertain to this book. What pertains to this book are the other interests that people read about on the internet and other books. Number one is conspiracy theories. I like a good conspiracy theory. I don't know if you do, but there's an awful lot of them out there. Don't necessarily believe them all, but I do find them fascinating. I am also into symbolism. I can go into a church and sit and look at stuff all day, symbols in cities, because I always want to find what the root meaning of those symbols mean. I'm into history. I had a nice discussion with this nice lady over here about a few things that you're not taught in history. Going along with conspiracy theories, I have an interest in secret societies. You've all heard, hopefully, of the Masons and maybe the Rosicrucians, the Knights Templar, people of that nature, and patterns. And what I found when I was looking into all these things, when I was looking at conspiracy theories, this symbolism, history, secret societies, they're all intertwined. And that's what I'm going to show you tonight, because sometimes people may not be so familiar with what I put in this book, so this will help make the reader a little easier. I began writing it last September, started slow. I decided to write it because I figured it would be a fictional novel, because it would fit with the research that I had, because it's mysterious. And I also figured that because it's mysterious and you need to look into it, a detective should be the main character. So what I did was I wrote a mystery with a detective who writes a book about conspiracy theories, and he debunks some and he admits to others. So that's how I developed a storyline and I began to write. It took me approximately 9 months from the start date of writing it to the end date when I finished editing it and it was okay for the press. It came out around July, a little bit into July. So let's talk about conspiracy theories. We never landed on the moon. Have you heard that one? Most people have. FDR knew and provoked Pearl Harbor. Now it is true we did cut off their oil supply, but the whole thing was a lot of people believe that Franklin Delano Roosevelt provoked the attack so that we can get into World War II. Whether that's true or not, HAARP is a mind control and weather weapon. Have you heard that one? HAARP is a complex that's up in Alaska that heats the ionosphere, and there's been all sorts of shows. Jesse Ventura did one recently where he shows that it can do stuff to your mind with electrical stimulus and things like that. So I don't know if they're doing something with the weather, but with the way the weather's been for the past couple of years, I think they should help it. And there are secret alien bases underground. You heard that? The U.S. government is in contact with aliens. They're under Denver Airport. There's tunnels all over the place. But the two main conspiracy theories that attract the most attention are the Kennedy assassination and the September 11th attacks. For some reason, I was born after Kennedy was assassinated, but the whole scenario that unfolded on November 22nd, 1963 still fascinates me to this day, even though I didn't live it. So, but those two are probably the biggest conspiracies that attract the most attention. You Google it on the internet, 9/11 conspiracies, Kennedy conspiracies, and you'll get hundreds of pages with everybody's opinions. Now, conspiracy theories, if you're not familiar, all involve an elite, wealthy, secret group bent on world domination. They use what they call Hegel's dialectic. I don't know if any of you are familiar with that, but basically they have a goal they want to change in society. So what they do is they cause an event, aka a false flag, to happen, and then they already have a predetermined conclusion that they offer people after something like that happens. Now, this elite group, of course, and I'm going on conspiracy pages on the internet, always foretells what they plan to do in some way. If they're a secret group, I don't know why they'd want to tell us, but that's what they say. So I'd like to start with a short book reading that actually goes into the meat of the novel. Okay? And it's Detective Dayton McCormick, and he's got his first book signed. Just like I am. Detective Dayton McCormick had seen many gruesome sights while being a police detective. But nothing made him feel more uneasy than looking at the crowd of about 25 people who had gathered at the Barnes & Noble bookstore to hear him pitch his book and get their signed copies. He took a deep breath, looked up, visualized himself making the sign of the cross, and then slowly walked over to the podium, which was set up before the crowd. He looked to the left and to the right. He could see all types of people, the young and the old mixed in with the clean cut and the tattoo. He licked his lips once, pinched his lower lip between his top and bottom teeth, paused for a second, and then began to speak. "Thank you for coming. I'll try not to stutter." The group sensed he was nervous, and a few people in the crowd nodded their heads and laughed lightly. Dayton continued, "I dislike the words conspiracy theory. I much prefer the words fact and fiction. Ever since," I have to find my place here. Okay, "ever since the assassination of John F. Kennedy, many authors around the world have presented a lot of accusations. Accusations which over time have grown legs and created an entire industry." Dayton bowed his head as he thought of what he would say next. "My name is Dayton McCormick. I'm a police detective here in Richmond." He continued to explain to the crowd about his role as a detective, arresting bad guys and trying to keep them off the streets. Only solid evidence presented in a court of law can keep the bad guys in jail. Evidence which a careful inspection is missing from most conspiracy theories. A woman in the front looked at her friend and whispered, "He's the one who stopped the birthday murderer." Dayton overheard what she had said and recalled the incident, but quickly put it out of his mind to complete the task at hand. There are many people out there who think 9/11 was perpetrated by our own government. Seems plausible, doesn't it? I mean, the government has a lot of power, along with the means and the opportunity. After all, as many websites claim, there was Operation Northwoods in the 1960s, which was a plan proposed to hijack or bomb American airliners and blame the Cubans, so our government could fire up the American people to support an invasion. Dayton said in a sarcastic tone. Then it's fine. But folks, this is the same government that can't run a mass transit system properly, or keep a stained blue dress secret. A gentleman laughed in the crowd, nodding his head in agreement. Somebody would have talked, but nobody has. Dayton squeezed his hands tightly against the small podium. "I'm here to answer your questions and also to sign books, if you wish. Just to let you know, I've received hate mail already from those who think I'm a sellout to the powers that be, whoever they are. But I can assure you, especially if you read the book carefully, there are a lot of unanswered questions that I have concerning some of the events over the past 60 years. I'm not looking for the truth because truth is subjective." Dayton paused and licked his dry lips one more time. "I'm looking for the facts, so a conviction can be made in the courtroom. Any questions?" A young man with scraggly hair and a black t-shirt raised his hand. He started to stand up, but Dayton could clearly see the imprint on the front of his shirt, which had a circle with a slash through it containing the letters NWO, for the New World Order. "What about the New World Order?" he inquired. Dayton replied, "What about it? The New World Order has been a phrase used by many in higher office. It was used by George H.W. Bush in all days on September 11th, but in 1990 or 91. He continued to elaborate on the phrase New World Order and was also used by his successor, President Clinton, as well as Bush's son W. Where is it? Many conspiracy websites tied this New World Order to the Club of Rome or the Committee of 500 and their desire to drastically reduce the population of the world. Well, prior to World War I, there was never more than 1 billion people on this planet, at least that we can recall. We are approaching 7 billion. So it seems to me if there's a plan to reduce the population, it's failed miserably." And he goes on,